Welcome to the Fantasy Take TV podcast for round 3. We have a very exciting episode today. We have all the latest news, a lot of injury news, a few role changes that we're excited to discuss, and we'll go through a Q&A through the Discord. So join the Discord if you're not there. So a bit of a shorter one with the short turnaround. And for the second time, this is the second take. JD, how are you? And how was your week this week?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I feel like you took all my talking points from first time around as well now, so I don't even know what I meant to say. But yes, it is exciting. No Eno, which means we're going to try and reduce this from 20 hours down into like just a half hour. We'll see how we actually go to try and make the content as relevant and concise as we do have that short turnaround. So much interesting injury news. How about you, George? How are you? Are you looking forward to gather round this weekend? You got everyone flying in from, fantasy SuperCoach content creators. You actually planning to go to games, meeting up with anyone? What's on the agenda for the week ahead?
Nothing planned, although I do have tickets for Sunday. So I don't know who I'm going with yet, but we'll figure that out. So that's exciting. Gather round. There's like some concert or something on tonight with like Delta Goodrum. I just found that out. It's on TV anyway. I'm not going to watch that. And then Wednesday night is the boxing with Kane Corns and Nathan Brown, which is just down the road from my house, actually. So I might venture down there tomorrow night. So that'll be good. And yeah, Gather Round brings a bit of tourism to SA. It's like the only thing we got. This and the Fringes. That's pretty much it for Adelaide. So pretty exciting for us down here. But for me, or for my SuperCoach week this week, it was the most important week of trading. You can't blow this week, and we blew it. But the beauty is there's another 20 weeks to go. So our trades this week were Sam Berry out, Nick Caulfield out, Hayden Young out. Whoops. And we brought in Massimo, which is fine. We brought in Tom Powell, which you needed to get. And we brought in Winhager. And him and his CBAs were not as good as I hoped. And he got suspended. So brilliant trade in, and also lost Marty Hoare. So the defense was bad last week. It's twice as bad this week. So not happy with that. 1981 into rank 7.6k, which is okay. End of this round, we'll get a better idea of where we are at. My MVP this week is Isaac Heaney. I did the VC bond into Isaac, and yeah, Heaney's just been probably leading the Brownlow and joy to watch. So I wasn't taking a 110 from Bond. That's not going to do much for me. Put all the faith in Isaac like I have for so many years, and he didn't let me down, which is great. And fault of the week is none other than Marcus Turnover Winhager. So he's out of my side and he's suspended. So should have got Bramble or a rookie, but it is what it is.
No, unlucky. I mean, I think the role was definitely there for Winhager, so to have him suspended in the following week is always rough. So my trades weren't much better. Young and Martin out, so trading out 2 130s in the same week is got to be a first for me. I don't know if you've been able to do that before, George, but yeah, consider that an achievement.
I think I'll max score on 160. I traded out, but that's another story.
Nice. And yeah, Sexton is the third of those, and then brought in Luke Ryan, Massimo, and Powell. And, I think it was still like plus 170k cash this week doing those trades. So it's not, the be all and end all. And I'm really happy with the 3 players I brought in. But yeah, always sad to trade out good scores out of your side. And my MVP of the week, I'm going to give it to Nick Martin. I don't care that he's not on my side anymore. I'd been pumping his tires all preseason. Last week I said I'd rather not trade him than trade him. I just got rid of him for structure. And he came through with the goods. So I hope those that were listening stuck fat and held on to Nick Martin, because he looked very good last week. I think this week will be a tougher matchup with Port. And look, if I couldn't pick Nick Martin, I'd give it to Gawn with the 177, just ridiculous scoring. He's been off to an amazing start this year, especially over the last 3 weeks. I think he did a 160 as well. So it must be like a 150 average over the last 3, something like that. My fault of the week is going to go to Jack Billings. I mean, we got baited pretty hard with this pick. I know the role wasn't great, but we didn't, after the 100 and whatever it was, we didn't need it to be amazing for him to make enough money for us. But to go 70 and then whatever it
40.
was, like a 42 and get subbed out. Just awful. And originally my trade plans this week couldn't be completed because Billings was about 10 points short of where I needed him. So yeah, that was rough. He definitely gets the fold of the week. And short-lived stay in my team, Jack Billings has. That is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hard one because, I mean, maybe we underestimated how good these Ford rookies were. I mean, it's only 1 week, but I would have loved to have gone down to a Dempsey, for example. He looks much better. That
Picking
would have
that
been
this
nice.
week.
But so all 220K we're going to pay for that, I think, at this rate. But
Was it
whether
like
that's
the interesting thing with this, right, is part of the reasons why you could jump on Billings is because he had the round zero game. So he's made 62K over those 2 weeks, even though the scores were terrible. And yes, that pick has failed. It's been a disaster, but it only costs like $9,000 now to correct to Dempsey. And like, yeah, you missed out on points, you missed out on trade. But I think that was always the logic with going into some of these guys, that because of the round zero early game and the built-in price or score they already had, you could have them fail and it still not be a disaster. And I kind of feel like that's the case, even though obviously I would have liked to have just gone down to Dempsey over Billings from the start.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he missed or didn't miss those 2 open goals over the 2 weeks, but that's another story.
Not to mention, like, Melbourne could not hit Billings. They could not hit him to save themselves. I don't know how
they
many
missed
points he
him.
missed out on over the last 2 weeks. Just atrocious.
But yeah, that's probably the last time we talk about Billings for the year. But all the best. Hope he has a good year. We'll get into some news. So fair bit here, maybe like 20 talking points. I'm not going to harp on all of them, just briefly skim over them. But less irrelevant here, but Wayne Miller is out for the season with a patella issue. So Luke Dankervis is a 240K defender, probably too expensive, but worth just keeping a small eye on because he might take kick-ins and he's cheap and he should slot into that halfback role.
There's no chance that like Dan Curtin comes in, is there, George? One that a lot of people hold in on the preseason.
I'm not sure he's ready yet.
Okay.
I think they're easing him in. It would be great if he played though. So yeah, we'll just monitor that. But yeah, had a slow start to the year. Zorko has moved to halfback, but worth noting McKenna is listed as 2 weeks. So does he hold that role or not? I know some people might look at Zorko. I think for me, it might be one where very late in the season, when the injury risk is reduced.
Unfortunately, he's not that cheap. He's still 500K. He's only 30K cheaper than like a Flanders type, for example. And he's 35 with injury history over the last couple of years. I just don't think that you can do that now in a season-long format. As interesting as he is as a pickup, he could have very nice scoring over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, was picking it up back there, but yeah, he looked all right. Did slow down. Sam Walsh listed as 1 to 2 weeks. So this is just a little bit. They seem to be pushing it a little bit more and more. It sounded like he'd be right for after gather round. Now they're saying 1 to 2 weeks, where I thought it was going to be 1 week, but did train and moved well in the light session. That was the report. So what that means for Carroll, I don't know. So hopefully we can get at least another 2 rises out of Carroll. Zach Reed listed as 3 weeks. Are you holding Zach Reed just till he comes back?
So interesting. We need to go through really what our trades are now. So originally I was trading Reed. It looks like I might be holding him now. I'm okay with holding him. I think the concerning thing here is it feels like Zach Reed's been 3 weeks away for 3 weeks already. So I'm not actually sure what the return timeline looks like, but he was spotted at training today doing some, I think, running and other drills.
I think original was 4 to 6 when he first did it. But it might have been 3 weeks last week. Not sure.
It was 3 to 4 last week. Yep.
Okay, so hopefully he comes back. Ridley's 1 week away. I don't think that really changes much. Worth noting, buddy Andy McGrath's scoring okay back there, which is interesting.
McGrath is scoring well back there. He's actually probably played his best games for us in a while. I actually think, I said this before, I think it could help Nick Martin, Ridley being back there, because he's another one that doesn't mind the short little chisel kicks. I could see them pairing up, doing that a little bit of that.
Yep. Will Setterfield is off the injury list. So we saw Durham get a bit of CBAs. Hobbs played, not maybe more draft sort of relevance there, but Hobbs is tracking for forward status. I mean, I'm not sure I'd go there again, but might take an injury and some form or something.
Mm-hmm.
Chapman and Noddy listed as a test. Now, does that mean anything? There's a bit of might be a shuffle in Frio's defense where like Carl Warner might be available. Who else? So playing Draper, do they play Draper as a second tall, or do they play Hughes, who can play tall? It's a bit confusing. I'm not 100% across it, but worth noting, there might be some rookies there for us. And I don't know if that means anything for Sharp, but he should be okay.
Yeah, Sharp. And also potentially Clark as well, depending on if they use Chapman back as another distributor back there as well. I wonder if that affects him.
Yep. Sean Darcy, hallelujah, 1 week away.
Yep. Just get us out of this Luke Jackson nightmare.
I can't sit through another 180. Just modest ton, and I'll be happy this week. But if you have Luke Jackson, you're laughing at the moment.
And so he would come straight back in for the Port Adelaide matchup. I think it is next week, is what the report was today.
Yep. Corey Wagner, 2 weeks away. Now, does Warner come in? Does Wagner take his spot when he's 2 weeks away? When he comes back, this is very confusing. Probably one for Freo supporters to get their read on that. Patrick Dangerfield's 1 week away. Does that affect Jai Clark? I think they're happy with Jai Clark, so I think he'll keep playing. Now, an interesting one. Lukosius floated in AFL.com.au to play defense, at least for this week and for the time being. 400k, 113 break even. Is it too risky to touch a Lukosius at this point?
I think it's definitely too risky. We should wait and see. His break even's 113 anyway, so you can, I think, watch him pretty risk-free against GWS and then make an assessment then. But, I mean, two things come to mind for me with this one. One, Hardwick had Baker in the Tigers, where he used him both ends of the ground and kind of moved around as a bit of a Mr. Fix-It. I know they're different types of player, but I could almost see him using Lukosius in the same way, and that's what we've seen Lukosius used for in the past. So I'd always be a little bit worried about bringing him in, but given the thin forwards, I guess it's interesting. And the other thing for me is that it kind of suggests that they haven't been happy with how they've been moving the ball out of the back half if Lukosius is going back down there, and that signals worry for me with Sexton, especially given that he was moved forward in their last game when things weren't going well.
Yep. I'm a holder of Sexton, and I think I'll just bench him for the time being and see how that happens, see how that goes. Will Day is still 4 weeks away, so I feel like it's been 4 weeks for every week. Yep. But we saw Henry Hoswait get a game. Started to work into the game into the third, did nothing in the first half, then got subbed.
Which is crazy as well, because the fourth quarter, when it was wet and sloppy, you'd think that's when he'd really excel as an inside mid, but
yeah, not sure, not convinced enough to bring him in at this stage. Nick Watson, syndesmosis 4 to 6. Not sure many people have him, but I don't know. That's probably more forward time for Moore and Connor McDonald. Bowie is listed as 6 weeks away, and Hoare is listed as 3 to 4. So that could mean that Hoare could come back for a few price rises after his bye in 3 weeks. So after that will be the 4th week. Is he even best 22 though? We don't know, because last time he was the sub when May and Lever played. So that's one where I wouldn't mind holding, but I wouldn't be upset ditching him. So that's that. Yeah, Stephen May's a test.
Sorry, just on the Watson syndesmosis stuff. So I think the interesting thing here is who they bring in to replace, because Mitch Lewis is also out injured as well, right? So they're probably bringing in a tall like Ramsden, who I think is a 124k forward. So that's a potential rookie watch. And then the other spot is probably in competition between Finn McGuinness, who is probably likely to come back and tag Dacos, or Sam Butler, who has, I think was a rookie for us a couple of years ago. He's down 250k, so a bit out of price range, but he's kicked 4 and 3 goals in the last 2 weeks. So Dacos holders like myself are very much hoping that Butler comes in and gets the Watson replacement, and Finn Mag stays well away from that side.
They have an excuse to bring Finn Mag in. That's not good.
Yeah, they do, but he also got dropped for a reason as well, and he played like wing half back from what I read, and then moved a little bit forward in the in the fourth quarter of that game. So it'd be weird to then, I think, bring him back in as a forward replacement. But yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what happens with Huswaite as well, whether they persist with him or drop him. Hopefully, Finn Mag is either gets another week in the twos or is a sub only. But maybe this is just Dacos Hopium right now.
Yep. Yeah, Common Jones, Achilles. I don't know who comes in. It's not Finbar, they were saying somebody else. The name escapes me. Anyway, I don't know if you can find that, but we'll move on.
I'll quickly
Wines has hamstring tightness 1 week, which might explain why his tog was so terrible when he sat out the last 6 or 7 minutes of the game. His tog was terrible in the fourth quarter, so that could explain that. Horn Francis is available off the injury list, so straight swap there. Tom Lynch has done a 12 to 10 week hamstring, so that Lafau, I think is how you say it, might help his job security. Didn't score much, but is 102k.
I
Not
think he had
sure.
3 touches and 2 goals, which is a pretty good stat line, but then got subbed out.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. Windy accepted his 1 match suspension. Find some money, St Kilda. Anyway, Baker also accepted his 1 week. He challenged and lost his suspension, so he's out for 1 week. And he's a sneaky option. He's getting 20 to 30, I think 20 to 40% CBAs. I don't think Dow hasn't looked impressive enough to hold his spot. Do they throw Baker in there a bit more? Is he a consideration for you at some point, say after his bye?
Baker?
Yeah.
I think the challenge here was that he's probably getting more midfield time or time around the ball because of the injuries they've got with Prestia,
Dusty.
is it? Oh, yeah, Dusty and Prestia as well. So Prestia, I know, is still out like a month and a half or something, but Dusty's potentially back this week, and I would have liked to have seen them playing together more. You've also got Graham coming back, who I think's a test as well. So yeah, I'm a little bit unsure as to what that looks like for Baker going forward. And it's always been the hard thing with Baker, getting a read on what his role is going to be and where he's going to play. So hopefully we get a bit more in the media about that.
Yeah, I guess for anyone in the forward line at the moment, I just want secure role before I go there. So anyway, so Tom Liberatore is not on the injury list, despite being flagged as sore when he was subbed out. So if you had Liber, are you happy to hold?
If I had Liber, I wouldn't have Liber. But if I had Liber and he's not on the injury list, yeah, I'd try. I'd hold. I don't see why you'd necessarily trade him. I'm sure he's got a big break even, but I think at this point you just hold him.
Yep, and that's the injury news. I don't know if I missed any. Did I say Adams? Adams is a test.
Yeah,
but he's reported in the VFL.
Yes, there's a chance he's suspended this week, and that could affect Jordan. It could affect Heaney. Could affect a few things there.
And Sam Wicks had some off-field issue with the teammate. He is ready to go this week, according to the news. I think Fox News I was watching tonight. So he's back at training. So he'll come in, I think. And if Adams comes in, what does that mean for James Jordan? I'll worry about that team sheets, but still, I think he can hold his spot. Like, no guarantee Wicks holds his spot.
I mean, I have a feeling it might actually be good because I think Jordan's been playing more half forward in lieu of like Adams being there or Parker being there to play it. And really, I think we want Jordan maybe more on a wing than what we've seen so far. So yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Now, trades for this week. So I was planning to keep Wines for 1 more, and I also wanted to keep Winhager for 1 more just because of the low break even and good matchup. But I think Hand is basically forced with Hoare out. So, what are you thinking for trades this week? Has yours changed since these injury news have come out?
Yes, it has. So originally, I was looking to do, and I'd set up my team so I could get rid of Zach Reed this week, swing Yo into my defense, and bring in Darcy, and then I was going to downgrade Billings to Dempsey. I was also hoping to get in Flanders, but after doing those 2 trades, I didn't have enough money. However, with Hoare out, I can now trade Hoare, hold on to Zach Reed instead. So just swap the different defender, and with the extra, 20K that he has on his head, that allows me to do Fisher to Flanders as my last trade. So just to repeat, it is Marty Hoare out for Darcy. It's Billings down to Dempsey, and then it's Fisher up to Flanders.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy to get rid of Fisher this week.
I don't think he's a bad hold by any means, and I think he can. But I'm also totally fine with moving him on.
Yeah, it's a bit of Wines syndrome where he's not making money. He's not a keeper. There's so many good money makers in these forward and mid slots, and you can get rookies scoring not far off them. So,
that's true, but he's got a 47 break even, I think, this week. So he should make a little bit of money, although it's probably not much. And then Geelong Hawks matchups in the following weeks look pretty good as well. So I don't think it's the end of days if you're forced to hold Fisher, which I'm probably doing in other formats.
Yep, I ditched him in all three immediately. But regardless, my trades mine's a mess. Now this is an issue I'm having. So I know Selby used to say he never used to double downgrade. He'd always do one up, one down, get the points on the field. Now with Wines out, I'm thinking of going Jordan and Wines down to Dempsey and Darcy because I'm thinking long term. I want Dempsey on the field. Like, what am I going to do on the field? Like Sexton, Cadman, or Darcy on the field every week?
No, you want Dempsey.
I don't think I want this.
Yeah.
I want Dempsey there. And that leaves me with a ton of money plus Winhager. So I could go Winhager up to Luke Ryan. Or hold a whole bunch of money, 450k in the bank, and just go to Bramble, which would allow me to get Merritt and then in 2 weeks Petrarca when they have what I think is a cake fixture. And also would allow me to get Rowan Marshall next week. So I think that would be the best for long term, but I'm giving up. I'm throwing away 50 points this week by doing that.
So, on the Windhager one, right? You've got Howes on your bench, I hope.
Howes, Hoare, Reed.
Oh, okay. Because it would have been good to be able to loophole Howes, see what he scores, then decide if you could hold Windy or not. But if Howes is on your field, you don't get the luxury of doing that.
No choice this week.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
I think would you ever go backwards to go forwards, or would you want the points now?
I think I'm happy to go backwards to go forwards if it's 1 week. I know it's not ideal, but I think in SuperCoach it's fine. The challenge I would put to you, George, is you have a history in the past of paying up for the guys that you like, sometimes when they're overpriced. And do you feel like you're doing that? Do you feel like Merritt at 650k or whatever he is the best value option here, or there are other guys that you should be aiming for?
Well, I like Butters. I like Merritt. Petrarch has the buy. The hill I die on is I don't like soft tissue history, and I've already got that in green. And I see Took did one last year. I don't trust Whitfield either. And they're the two I actually like for scoring. Whitfield's an interesting one because his efficiency's up, his marks are way up. They're +3 on last year, and he's versus West Coast and North, and Collingwood in a horrific state at home. So he's really played nobody, to be honest.
Which I actually think helps him because they haven't been driving out of defense much. And what I've noticed this year is when they are coming out of defense, they are actively looking for him. They want to put it through his hands as the distributor. It's not the main sharing with others. It's they just want Whitfield using it out of defense, is what I've noticed watching GWS so far. So I'm still really bullish on him as an option. But yeah, I know with your aversion to soft tissue history, why someone like Whitfield would not be very appealing.
Oh, Whitfield has no soft tissue, but he just has injury incidents. Usually I'm quite forgiving on that because remember Heaney back in the day was the most injury-prone player, but
similar vote.
Was more knocks.
Didn't Petrarca have a period as well of knocks as well, or am I misremembering?
No, Petrarca's not too bad. If he did, he played through him. He had a knee soreness,
okay,
very a big compression compression thing on his leg. But yeah, it's I think Whitfield and Took are the value options. Are there any value options you like this week?
Yeah, I think that's the challenge. Is bring them in this week because I can see some guys that are starting to fall in price now that I'm pretty keen on. So I think Goulden, Dawson, Luke Davies, Uniacke, Oliver are all going down in price, and they're going to be sub 600K. I think there'll be some pretty good value there, but they're not there yet. There's still a couple more weeks to wait on them. In terms of the value guys now, I think it's probably Steele,
yeah.
Crouch, and Miller. And you have, I think, Steele and Crouch and don't like Miller as an option. So I think it makes it pretty tricky
I
there.
like him. He's all right.
Yep.
But see, I hate those options that you listed. I don't want Oliver this year. Not this year.
No, it's pretty hard. I want to see him turn around, and you obviously want him after the bye. So I like you need to see the form turn on him.
A bit like people that went Walsh last year. They went the player without a full preseason, and it was a painful own. I'm not going through that potential. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm saying it could happen. Whereas I don't think it will happen to someone like a Merritt or Petrarca who've been flying in preseason.
Yep. I mean, my favorite two cheaper options this week are still Whitfield and Flanders. Because I think, Whitfield, I'm like both of them, I'm pretty convinced they're the top of their line, and they've actually showed good form and still on the way up. So I think I'd be happy to jump on the back of them. With that said, Flanders has a pretty tough matchup in GWS this week. So, worried about what type of scoring I'll get, but at least it's there and done before I have to worry about my Swans players next week. And Whitfield, I'm happy to go in on. I know others won't be, but I like him.
Yeah, I don't mind. Whitfield should be okay. I was looking at the top 6 defenders, and I'm not really convinced. Like, you got Dacos, Sheasel, Ryan, Stewart, and then after that, I'm not. Like, Houston's numbers, I don't.
No,
like, his fantasy's not good. I don't. It's it's confusing me a lot, but he's still scoring.
Now, this is what I was saying. That with Farrell and what's he say? I want to say it's Burton, but it's not Burton, is it?
No, it is Burton.
Okay. That they just seem to be more willing to distribute through others out of half back. So they still want to get it in the hands of Houston, but I just think it's like a couple of kick marks a game that he's not getting now that he used to, is what it feels like to me watching. So he's still influential, he's still very good, but just like the opportunities just dialed back 5-10%, and I think it will affect his scoring. But he'll also have the ceiling games. They will come where he has a 170, 180.
Yeah. And even the Sicily, they're not going through him as much. Like, the ball he's getting is difficult ball. It's tough, good intercept marks. All the crap ball, I say crap ball, I say easy ball is going through Weddle, Impey, and a little bit through Amon. Amon's not a good pick this year, but it used to always go through Sicily, and it's just not going through him as much. So I'm not quite sure what that means for him. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he averaged in the 90s, even though he's far better than that. So that leaves like a look at the list and leaves like a Whitfield in top 6, but that's me.
I will flag 2 others, which is painful. Like Hayden Young and Nick Martin, 2 guys that just traded out. I don't think I'd be bringing him in this week, but if we saw Nick Martin back up again against Port, who is a tougher side to score against, then I think that's probably a green light that he'll be thereabouts for top 6 defense. And I'd even consider bringing him back in, especially against the Dogs, who I think he could score well on. So that's one I would just be mindful of in particular. Hayden Young, I'm not as sure on, just because the ball use I don't think is necessarily going to be there all year, and he's got competition with 3 other top line mids. So I'm not sure he actually ends up being a top 6 defender, but on the watch list as well for next week. All right, we bragged about this being a short podcast, and we're now 28 minutes in. So let's get to some Q&A, shall we?
Yep.
All right, I'm leading that, aren't I? And this is always unfortunate when I've got to scroll through the Discord for the questions, because it is not great. All right, so first up is from Cause. Is the Dacos trade still worthwhile? So, George, you're an owner of Dacos, right?
Yes.
And I am too. So would you be considering trading Dacos out, or are there any teams that might be in a position to trade him out? And if so, what would that look like?
If I see Finn McGuinness named and I have nothing else going on, I assume most people are getting in the Sam Darcy this week, despite the threat of Lob at some point potentially taking a spot. I think, the 110 in his system is too hard. So people getting Darcy. If you've got nothing else going on and you see Finn Meg named, I'm trading. If not, I'm holding. We signed up for this. We knew this. It's just, do you have this luxury?
It wouldn't have been a problem if he hadn't have dropped the 60 against St Kilda, but anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So second question builds on what you were mentioning there. How confident are you in Sam Darcy's job security?
Well, I think a TikTok from his girlfriend said he's playing VFL for his career now, which I'm not sure is true because he kicked 5 in the VFL, and Darcy was a little bit. Darcy needs to perform. I mean, if Darcy keeps playing well, he keeps playing. If Darcy has a few quiet ones and Lob kicks 5 again in the VFL a few times, then maybe they make that swap. Look, your guess is as good as mine. I think it's performance based. You're backing in Darcy, who's a supreme talent, to keep performing. And if he does, he's going to make a stack of money. Still getting that 40% ruck time too, and he's really tall, so can get the odd hit out to advantage. I'm going to take the risk because I think it is a risk bringing him in, but I'm going to take that.
I mean, the red flag here is that basically everyone put up points on West Coast apart from Darcy, which is always a bit of a concern because that is a soft matchup both for rucks and for forwards, and it didn't convert. But then he had a really good game the week before. So, yeah, I'm still on the Darcy train for now, but I am a little bit worried about this pick. The one thing for me, though, is there's not actually a ton of other downgrade targets on the horizon at the moment. So I feel like taking him is still a worthwhile punt at the moment.
Yeah.
All right.
Break even.
Yeah, is trading Jordan out this week to Heaney dumb?
No,
I don't think so either. Like, obviously, there's a chance Jordan could go large this week, but I think Heaney's a pretty good option. Is Steele worth bringing in for Billings and Fife?
Probably. You can probably speak about Fife because you've probably watched him a bit more. I think Steele's brilliant trade-in. So I would say yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can move them on their mid prices. They're not going to go up tons of cash. Fife's got a hard matchup with Carlton. I will say that I am questioning champion data every day this week until they give a response on why an insufficient intent kick gives 2 clangers. It shouldn't, right? Like, how can one kick give 2 clangers, both for the bad kick and for the free against? But for some reason, it looks like they're coding them like that, but they don't code out on the full like that at all. So anyway, Fife should have like an extra 5 points last week. Yep, I'm still upset about it. Anyway, all right. Is it worth moving?
Karen.
What, sorry?
You're a SuperCoach Karen.
Yeah, I just imagine meeting Frico one day and him just punching me right in the face for being annoying on Twitter all these years. Is it worth moving Dawson on or just backing him in until he's soft run?
The kicking this is the hard thing. When you jump off premiums with high break evens, you jump off, you get something good usually. Well, not me, Winhager. But you avoid the potential downside of a Young or a Martin. Now, if you held a Dawson, he's plummeting in cash. I don't think he's top 8 this year. His kicking's not good. The forward line is crap for the Crows.
Yeah, and he's projected to lose another 50K over the next couple of weeks.
He's got no Thilthorpe to kick to. Taylor Walker is playing injured. I don't know if you've watched Taylor Walker, but he can barely move. He can't even put 2 hands in the air. He's going marking contests. He's putting one arm up in the air. You got to see it to believe it. Forward line's not functioning. Ball movement's not functioning. He's not kicking well. Crows under the pump. Crows are losing more. Crouches took away from him potentially. I don't know if that's a guaranteed thing, but that was in the numbers last year. I would trade.
Yeah, it's a really rough one because I think as I said, like if his form starts to turn around, he's a target for me into probably the Eston matchup or definitely the North one. Especially if he gets to sub 550K, like that's the exact type of price I'd be looking for first upgrade. And if you could have offered me Steele for 550 or Dawson for 550 at the start of the year, I'd take Dawson. But I mean, everything that you've pointed out is obviously a huge concern. And the matchups in the next 2 weeks against Melbourne is like okay. And then Carlton the week after is probably more worrying. So yeah, I can see a reason to jump off him. But it's a little bit like Dacos, right? You've already taken the hit. He doesn't have the buy like Dacos does. So, you know, unless you've got the free trade to do it, I still think most teams have other bigger issues, but I can also understand wanting to rage trade out of him. All right, George, planning to go down to 31 trades this week. How bad is this? Basically, if you've boosted and used 3 trades every week, like, are you worried?
It's not ideal, but I'm not worried.
I mean, I think a lot of teams will have boosted twice, basically, by the end of this week. So I would imagine that, you know, maybe you're 1 boost behind and maybe 1 trade behind. But if your team's in a better position, you'll make it up in the weeks to come. Setting up now is important for the future. All right. Is it ideal to bank cash in the next couple of weeks and get to the right rookies?
my read on the upcoming rookies is so there's Conway, who they've already flagged. Doesn't seem like he's ready yet. Doesn't have the tank yet. So he could be in and out the side. I think they'll play him at times and sort of manage Stanley and Conway. That's sort of what Chris Scott was saying. So he's coming through. Sonsi, I like. Now, Sonsi is playing half forward, but he's midfielder. So I don't like. He's probably not going to score much at half forward. And he was robbed of a goal. Robbed of a shot on goal. I think he got a bit unlucky. I think Sonsi will be okay, but I'd like to see some mid-time. So I think you can do worse than him. Draper and Tom Brown in defense. I mean, I don't really want either of them. Tom Brown didn't accumulate in the VFL. Draper looked good. I think he'll keep playing.
But the ins are a bit of a concern. With the ins for Freo are a bit of a concern. If you've got Warner, Wagner, and Chapman all coming back.
He's going to have to play on Colonel Mackay this week, and that's going to be rough. He looked good, though. I don't really want either, though. So
it's one of those ones where I wouldn't be surprised if one of them ended up being a really good rookie, but I couldn't tell you which one and why.
Yeah. I think they like Brown.
But I mean, to answer, I think your original question there, like, I don't think you don't have to bank cash. Like, you don't need to bank cash in the next couple of weeks. But we are looking to start upgrading probably, next week or the week after is probably when we start looking at trying to get our upgrade cadence going. So you want to be able to attack those and be in a position where you've got good rookies that are accumulating the money to support that. All right, George, who's more important to get in your side this week, Tom Stewart or Sam Flanders?
Flanders.
Yeah, I think it's Flanders for me too, and it's probably not close. Is Billings a must trade? I think that's a yes for me. I wouldn't even be surprised if he started sub or wasn't in the side this week. So, yep, must trade for mine. Boost Hoare to Brown, Draper, or hold? This is a boost as well. So if it's hold. A boost, it's not required to unlock other trades. So I'd be probably in the camp of potentially holding here, given that he is meant to be back in 3 to 4 weeks. Inside might be hard, but I guess this is difficult if you've got like Hoare and a Reed or a Gibka still or a Caulfield still, in which case maybe it is worth considering a boost. Who is a primo you'd be targeting this week to split mid prices?
Steele and Flanders 1 and 2.
Yeah. And Whitfield for me would be the other one.
Yeah, I'll say Steele, Flanders 1, Steele 2, Whitfield 3, Took 4.
And this is assuming that you don't have Sheasel, because Sheasel would be a clear one for me.
Yep.
All right. Rank the following mid prices in terms of trade out priority. I think this is a good question. So Billings, Fife, Jordan, Fisher, Williams, and Grundy. There's a fair few to work through there. Where do you want to start that one, George? I mean, I think both of us would say Billings is the most important one to trade out this week. And I have a feeling that like any of Jordan, Grundy, or Williams are not priority trade outs this week for me. The Swans have got the West Coast matchup, so happy to ride them for one more week and worry about them next week. And Williams, I think, in a sparse defense line, I'm happy to hold on to him. So then that really puts like Fife or Fisher as the last two. Who would you rather trade out this week?
So 1 Billings, 2 Fisher, 3 Fife, and then Sydney Boys next.
And then Williams last, or Williams ahead of the
Williams last,
Yep. Okay. What do you do with Libba before trades this week? I don't have Green, Butters, or Sarong. I mean, you already asked me this question. Would I trade him, George? I guess she's on the other foot if you're in a position to trade Libba. To me, it feels very similar to Dacos and Dawson. It's a luxury boost if you've got the room, but it's not a priority.
It just feels bad when you see all these young gun mids killing at the moment. You've got this older guy that's getting subbed because he's a bit sore. I mean, why did you pick a 32-year-old mid in the first place for 650K? I mean, I make mistakes, but this was a clear fundamental blunder.
George, this is a no judgment zone. These are the friends of the Discord. Yes, we would have advocated for not starting Libba, but we also made mistakes. I think just, luxury trade out.
I love trading premiums. Feels good. But you shouldn't.
Until they drop 130s on you.
I don't know if this is a Discord thing, but like you see like SuperCoach scores in other forums, they're like more traditional where let's wait a week. Hold your premiums, hold your premiums. But I
Hold
think
his
this
gold,
Discord,
baby. Hold his
this
gold. Let's
Discord
go.
is like getting the barrel gun out and just one slip up and bang, get out of my team. I think it's wrong, and we've seen that with Young and Martin, but we've also seen it with like a Dawson and some others. So like a Jaden Short, for example. So it's hard. So I do think our community is a bit trigger happy, and it's probably led by me. I'm probably the worst of the lot, and some people did hold, and that's fine. But if you're not happy with your premium, just trade them. Like, enjoy the game. Pick who you want to pick. If holding Libet is annoying you, just get rid of him.
To the trigger happy point, right? Like Dacos has gone 130, 130, 110, and we're like, yeah, trade him because he had one game of a 54 and he might get tagged. Like, I feel like that's like there are actually some good scores in there. All right, last chance to get gone. Should we sideways from Marshall or Grundy?
Or Grundy, yes. Marshall, no, because of the buy.
Yep. And would you do that this week if they're in a position to?
Every time you trade in Gorn this time of year, something happens. As soon as you hit 700, something happens. Always, I've done this twice in the past, but it's such a hard watch not owning him. Like, it'd be impossible to watch. So he's probably going to go to 700k. I probably would. Rob has limited him to a ceiling of 120 the past few years, past 3 outings. Don't expect major things. I think he's got Brisbane after that, and he scored 220 on this. I would just get him and just forget about it and enjoy the game.
Whitfield and Jordan on field, or Green and a rookie? Depends on who the rookie is, right? Because I think if the rookie's like Dempsey or a Robert Sanders McKercher type, then it's probably pretty easy Green and the rookie. But if you're starting to like go into that next tier of half forwards, like you're going to field a Wilson or a Cadman or a Reed, then I'd probably consider Whitfield and Jordan. All right, top captain options this week. It says top 3 captains this week, which is just a bit of an old one. But yeah, George, is there anyone you're eyeing off?
Steele, Heaney, Tom Green.
Tom Green is the one that I'm not sure on into the Gold Coast matchup, but Steele on the Norwood Oval against the Tigers makes a lot of sense, and Heaney against West Coast I like a lot as well. I think if you had Dunkley for whatever reason, then him against North is an interesting vice captain option. Otherwise, for Gawn owners, I like him as a vice captain option against Rob. As George mentioned, it's limited his ceiling, but Gawn's in unreal form at the moment. And if you've got to use a vice captain before the West Coast game, which is what most people's loopholes are, then I think that one seems to make a lot of sense.
How do you think Butters goes against your mob this week?
It's really tricky, especially with Wines out, right? That should probably help in terms of scoring opportunity. I think Essendon's actually been somewhat restrictive so far, but I don't know if that's just as a result of who we've played. Not necessarily the best midfield to date. And Butters' history against us is okay with that being great, but he feels like the type of player that should destroy us, if I'm being honest, especially given that we give up through the middle and he's someone that can link up through the middle. So I don't know. I did look at him originally as a vice captain bounce back game this week, but I think I'd just rather go Gawn given his ceiling as the vice captain.
A lot of people struggling for a loophole this week because Livingston plays early. So I think I'm Gawn into Steele.
Yep. Oh, so you're going Steele over Heaney?
Yep.
Ooh, that is a big call. All right. We'll have to chat about why later because that is very interesting to me. Okay. Who are the trade targets, including rookies and players to trade out in the next 4 to 5 weeks? Well, you'll have to listen to the next 4 to 5 weeks videos as we navigate those. I think probably a bit much for now, but we've given a pretty good idea over who we're looking at currently. Can you trade Hoare/Howes? So, I mean, Hoare is, I think, one that you can obviously trade out now that he's injured for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Howes, I'd be holding on to desperately. All right, from Bogues here, current structure has Wines at M6. Is it worth a boost to restructure and get the 3 main mid rookies on field this round? Current trades would be something like Wines, Billings, and Hoare to Whitfield, Darcy, and Thomas.
Yeah, this Wines M6 has caused so much damage. I would actually bench McKercher this week, not because I don't own him, but I'm benching him because he's at Norwood and there's not much room to chip mark there. But if that backfires, then we'll see. But regardless, after that, or I think he's still fine to field, obviously, but I probably would, if you can fit another cash maker, even if you go late on a rookie or something. Like there's quite a few that've got like a 70, 80, or a 90 in their system in the forward line that I'm more confident in than the upcoming ones. So if you can fit an extra one of those in, did he say Harvey Thomas?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know about Thomas.
You'd rather get Gallagher, right? I don't know what the price differences
Yeah,
are.
I like Gallagher. I think Gallagher might be maybe a bit better for fantasy, but
Are they similar
yeah,
price?
I don't
I
know.
think
Whichever
you'd rather
you
get
like.
Gallagher.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or if you like me or us, I think we're both getting Dempsey for 219k, but hopefully that works out. But yeah, I think that's fine to restructure a bit.
All
Get
right.
that extra cash money, cash it, make it in.
Yeah. The Peroxide Prince, Luke Ryan, what is his over-under for season average? He is
120.
currently at 140.7 after 3 games.
Say 120. 120.
Okay. I think I'll probably still take the under, but I'd be very happy with the over now that he's in my side. Merritt this week, Flanders next, or vice versa. So I would not go Merritt
Flanders
this week.
now.
I think there's a good chance that Drew tags Merritt this week. Yep.
Flanders now.
Yep.
Merritt, 650. Like you wouldn't pay 650, would you, at this point of the year?
I'm not. As I mentioned, I'm looking for all those guys that are 100k less than that. They're the ones that I'll start picking off.
I'm going to be very angry if I don't own Merritt by round 6.
I feel you. We should have started him, right? We should have started him.
I guess with Parrish out for the first 2, but can't dwell on that. Go Flanders this week and then figure out your extra trades. If paying up for Merritt's going to stuff up a future upgrade, then don't do it. Yep. Which it probably will, because you can get 100k less players.
Dunks asks, who do you reckon will be top 8 to 6 in each line? I think that's one we'll do next week as we start to get into upgrade season. That's probably a good one for next week. And we'll have a few games of a sample size then for us to go through. Is it viable to go Wines, one of the 650k guys, such as Green or Sarong, or is it better to go for one of the cheaper guys, Whitfield, Took, Steele? I think we've answered that one. So I'd still be advocating for the cheaper guys, but I'm sure it feels much better putting Green or Sarong in. Whitfield or Took for value and bank cash, or grab a Sarong, Green, Merritt? Yeah, similar question. Or also don't have Heaney, should fold and get him in. Yeah, you should probably fold and get Heaney in. Prioritize Darcy in for fixing a dead defensive rookie. Oh, sorry. Prioritize Darcy in or fixing a dead defensive rookie to Drake or Brown. Darcy. Or boosted at both. So I think, just get Darcy in. You probably don't have to fix a dead rookie if they're just sitting on your bench at D8. Also, who to cut from Darcy of Wilson, Clark, Harley Reid, Sexton, or Jordan? So Jordan, I wouldn't be cutting now because he is playing West Coast, and you're going to have the points on field in the best 22. I probably wouldn't cut him this week, even though it's the one that you will obviously trade out next week.
I would still do Jordan. If Ratkins is sub, I'm ditching Sexton.
Okay. Yep. Okay, that makes sense to me. Especially with Lukosius back. Just one other question here on Harley Reid. So kind of underperformed in terms of scoring the last couple of weeks. If he drops another poor score, is he someone that you could see yourself trading out early, or do you just kind of hold him at this point? I know he's got the Richmond matchup in 2 weeks, which is pretty appealing, but where's your head at with Harley Reid?
I can't wait to ditch him in fantasy. He's unfieldable in that format.
I think he's pretty much unfieldable in SuperCoach now as well, to be honest.
I wouldn't be upset letting him go. I'm happy to hold for, I think he's got 2 home games in a row after gather round. I'm happy to hold for those 2 and reassess.
Yeah.
If you're really struggling to I don't know who to get rid of, I wouldn't be upset getting rid of Harley Reid because I don't think anyone wants to field him at the moment. Maybe against Richmond, but that's about it in best 18s. So
yeah, I only thought this was going to be a bit of a risk with Reid, just given that wasn't necessarily a communicator, but one that we kind of got convinced on in the preseason games. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to work out necessarily very well.
No tank. Oh, well.
Oh, common West Coast problem. All right. What do I do if I don't have Gorn or Heaney? I'm still ranked 30k, but honestly, it feels like I'm just screwed.
Cut your losses.
On who? Gorn or Heaney?
Bring in Heaney.
Yep, I think I bring in Heaney as well. Is Bukakamas an option?
I don't know,
He's now
because
182k is his price now.
does he hold over O'Donnell and Gardner that are coming in? I can't answer that. I think he does, but I don't know for sure. So that's why I think good starting pick, but I don't know if I'd trade into it.
O'Donnell's been healthy for a while, hasn't he?
I can't. I have no idea.
I thought he would. I thought he'd been okay for a couple of weeks. I get the feeling that he's safe at the moment with how he's played, but maybe I'm wrong here. So O'Donnell played VFL last week. So we'll see. I mean, if he survives this week, then I'd assume yes. All right, Steele or Took? I'd go Steele.
I'm Steele, man.
Tom Powell in before Flanders because of price hike. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's not one that we haven't talked about, but when we were discussing value options, probably even bigger priority than anyone else we've talked about so far. Brown or Draper, Darcy or Dempsey. So if you could only pick one of Brown and Draper, who would it be? And same with Darcy and Dempsey.
Tom Brown.
Yep.
He had nice highlights reel. Doesn't accumulate much, but he's a good user.
Yep.
260s. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Draper drops a sub 30 against Mackay or Kerno this week. Dempsey or Darcy? Hard one. I sort of in this scenario, and I was weighing up, do I just pick one of them? And when I was doing that, I was just picking Darcy. I honestly feel no Dempsey's going to absolutely suck for the next 6 weeks. So that's why I just want him in.
It really depends on whether Dempsey only adds 80 or 180 more. And that'll tell you about how bad the miss was this week. Because if it's just 80 more, it's not the end of the world. It's 180 more, that really sucks, especially because it will have meant that he's dropped more good on-field scores for you. And I think that's the thing for me and what we were talking about. Darcy, I don't really have confidence in fielding. Dempsey, I'm happy putting on field at the moment. So if this rookie that you're getting is going to go on field, then I'd do it. Otherwise, what I'd be looking at is the 100k or so you save by going Darcy over Dempsey does enable really good trades that you otherwise won't be able to access next week. And if the answer is yes, then maybe you look at going that path and just hoping that you run against Dempsey. Would you second boost upgrade LDU to Sarong this week or not worth it?
I don't know about that for a boost. Yeah, I'm anti LDU.
Yeah, I know you, but that's because of the injury, not because of the scoring potential, right?
Well, I think Powell and Wardlaw are taking away a little bit from his ceiling. But I think it's hard to tell because this week they sent Hewitt to him in the first half.
Yeah. So, like, interesting, right? Like, LDU at 121, 105. So, two perfectly good scores. And then got Hewitt attention against the hardest midfield to score on last week in Carlton and dropped to 67. So, this is what, like, we're talking about overreactionary Discord before. So, why would you trade LDU to Sarong, who's now playing Carlton and probably going to get the Hewitt attention this week? It just feels like you've got like a really strong chance that LDU playing on the smaller ground against Brisbane outscores Sarong this week by like a reasonable amount. So I don't think I'd be boosting to do that trade this week. Sarong could end up outscoring him. It just feels like the type of thing that could backfire so easily for me.
I think if you want to correct it, I would make money off it to a Steele or Took. Like if you're not happy with LDU. If you are, that's fine. But if it sounds like he's not happy with LDU, or I don't know, maybe he just wants the wrong, I would go to a value rather than pay up for an upgrade, go down for a sideways. That makes sense.
Yeah. Like to me, if LD has a decent game this week, I think he's honestly like a target for people at 570 or whatever he might end up being before the Geelong Hawks Adelaide Saints run that he has. Would you rather trade Fisher or Fife this week?
Fisher, get out.
Okay. Best rookie to trade this week out of Draper, Brown, and Darcy. It would be Darcy. Is Fisher to Darcy worth it? It's hard to say that trade in a vacuum, but yes. Wilson upside. People seem to rate him higher than he's performing, or should I move on soon? Yeah, so Wilson obviously had the 25 this week, which stunts his cash gen, puts his break even up to trying to find it at the moment, 11. So he can still quite easily make that. But yeah, concerns on Wilson.
I like his DPP to hide him on the mid bench. So I'm going to just keep him in. I think he'll keep playing. So, yeah, he's got 100K in him for sure. It just might take a little bit longer.
Yep. I'm not in a rush to move him on at all. And I think culling him at 165K just feels pretty ordinary anyway. All right, and then last question, Jordan to Whitfield. It'll put Sanders on the bench for round 4 and misses out on a Hoare for Brown move. Also, Wilson to Dempsey, worth the investment. I mean, that might be the one Wilson trade I could endorse. But yeah, how do you feel about these? Jordan to Whitfield and Wilson to Dempsey.
I would only do Wilson to Dempsey if you're not confident in your forward rookies that you're fielding. So at least you get an on-field option. So that's points. And then Jordan to Whitfield, that's fine.
Would you rather trade like Wilson to Dempsey or Harley Reid to Dempsey?
Reid, take the money.
Yeah, I could see myself doing the same. I think Wilson will get there eventually. Harley Reid is already 80K more. How much more is he actually going to give? Like, I think Harley Reid could get to 300, but I just don't know when it will happen. More confident that Wilson gets to 250 than Reid gets to 300. So yeah, access the money now, I think, would be the option there. And then Jordan to Whitfield, you'd be happy to tick that off.
Yep. And then, okay, I shouldn't be giving advice on McKercher, but you can bench him this week at Norwood. You can yell at me and next week when he tons.
Yeah, I'm happy to field all of Roberts, McKercher, and Sanders this week. But yeah, Sanders I'd be fielding over McKercher for sure, just based on matchup. George, I've got one question myself for you. So I've got one rookie spot that I'm not going to enjoy fielding this week. It's currently a toss-up between Darcy, Cadman, Reid, Jai Clark, Wilson, Jack Carroll. I mean, I think realistically the ones in there are Carroll, Darcy, and maybe like a Cadman that I'm considering. So which of these rookies would you be fielding?
Carroll was getting 40 to 50% CBAs. He's going on field if required.
Mm-hmm.
Darcy's gone 110 and then 50. Who's he playing this week? Geelong.
Yep. So
yeah, I feel that. A few hit-outs on Conway.
Carroll or Darcy then? Who's it going to be? I mean, I don't think it's Conway. I think
no,
it's probably
Carroll.
Stanley this week.
I'll take the CBAs, please.
Okay. All right. Well, you're going to be getting an angry message Saturday evening if Carroll drops me a 55 and Darcy ends up putting up another 80-plus score.
Oh, well. Yeah, all you want won't change nothing.
Did you see that? People on YouTube, that George, just no sympathy at all. Like, whatever, man. That helps me for you to do worse. That's what I saw there.
Points for me. I don't care about your points.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, I'm an asshole. We can move on.
Dog world. No, that's all right. Carroll's on the field now. And Darcy's on the bench. So thank you for your advice, George. And I think that's us for the week. We're going to pull in just under an hour. So like we've halved the time at least, which is nice.
That's a miracle. I don't think we've ever done under an hour. That's not beyond like round 18. But good job.
And all we had to do was cut out like any of us talking in the middle. Maybe a lesson for next time.
Maybe we get rid of NO for good.
Oh, no. No, not NO.
Hey, you can come back. All right, wrap it up.
I just realized like neither of us normally close, right? Doesn't NO normally do this?
Oh, yeah. I was hosting, so I got to close. Well, that's it for the podcast. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you're helpful. Hopefully you're not as trigger happy as me. Or I guess you as well, JD, with your trades this week. But regardless, I actually mean this. All the best for this week, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Yeah, just remember, enjoy the best 22. Everyone on field counts. And of course, we'll be going through those top 8 and 6 of their line next week. So looking forward to that. I'll see you all then.